Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Before we begin, a reminder to media that you may now press *1 at any time to line up for questions. The question and answer portion will take place after the remarks. We'll ask reporters with questions related to the event to queue up first, and if possible, we'll take any unrelated questions if time permits following that. I'll now invite MLA for Courtenay Comox Rana Ray Leonard to begin the event. MLA Leonard, please go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Rana Ray Leonard, and I am the MLA for Courtenay Comox, and I'm pleased to be speaking to you today, not from Comox territory, but the traditional territory of the Shawapam peoples. And I'm coming to you live from the Watch Lake Lodge here in the Cariboo, and I just wanted to take that opportunity, since it's the perfect environment, to acknowledge the work of the firefighters, the dedication as they've come from different communities throughout British Columbia, throughout Canada, and in fact the world, to help us limit that potential for devastation. And we just want to say thank you so much to them. And I'm delighted to be your MC today. I'd like to introduce our guest speakers. Ron McKinnon, Member of Parliament for Port Coquitlam, Port Coquitlam, the Honourable Josie Osborne, Minister of Municipal Affairs, Russ Arnott, Mayor of the town of Comox, John Rands, Mayor of Metchosin, and today we also have on the line Bob Wells, the Mayor of Courtenay, who's joining us. So thank you everyone for joining us. Today we're celebrating the launch of our 4 Vancouver Island projects, receiving federal and provincial funding to help create strong and vibrant communities as we emerge from the pandemic. Our government and the Government of Canada have been working with community leaders since the start of the pandemic, listening to their unique needs and partnering together on solutions to keep our communities healthy and strong. With more about the supports that are being put into place, I'd like to introduce Ron McKinnon, MP for Coquitlam Port Coquitlam, who's speaking on behalf of the Honourable Catherine McKenna, Minister of Infrastructure and Communities. MP McKinnon.
Well, thank you, Rana Ray, and good morning, everyone. I would like to begin by acknowledging that I am joining you today from my home in Port Coquitlam, which is located on the traditional and unceded territory of the Coquitlam Nation and within the shared traditional territories of the Tsleil-Waututh, Katzie, Squamish, and Stolo peoples, all of whom have called this land home for many thousands of years. It's a pleasure to be here today with Minister Osborne, MLA Leonard, and Mayors Arnott, Rands, and Wells. I'm pleased to join you today on behalf of the Honourable Catherine McKenna, Minister of Infrastructure and Communities, to announce funding for projects to upgrade local infrastructure on Vancouver Island. For more than a year, Canadians have been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic in many different ways. Throughout this time, the Government of Canada has continued to invest in infrastructure to stabilize the economy, create jobs, and build resilient communities. Since March 2020, over 3,700 infrastructure projects have been approved, worth more than $9.9 billion. To address community needs, we've created a COVID-19 resilience stream that provides up to 80 cents on the dollar for pandemic resilient projects and up to 100% in the territories for projects intended for Indigenous communities. This fund also gives provinces and municipalities additional federal support for a wider range of infrastructure projects. Today, I am pleased to announce federal funding of over $10.3 million for 21 local infrastructure projects on Vancouver Island. These projects respond to a growing demand for cultural and recreational spaces, including trails and pathways that promote healthy and active lifestyles. These are projects that make a real difference in the lives of residents. Among projects announced today, both the City of Courtenay and the Town of Comox will improve active transportation within their communities with new bike paths and sidewalks. In fact, half of the 21 projects receiving funds to improve outdoor spaces, whether bike lanes, sidewalks, playgrounds, or gathering spaces. In the last 18 months, we've seen how crucial outdoor spaces are to physical and mental health. There are other important projects that are receiving funding today as well. For example, the District of Metchosin will repair a decommissioned school to provide a multi-purpose facility that will support day-to-day activities and safe gatherings for both the community of Metchosin and the neighboring Chiadnu First Nation. The Mowitchit Machalit First Nation will equip their community center and school with a battery and solar panels. As a result, the community will be able to rely on a safe gathering space during power outages and have continued access to food and healthcare services during an emergency. I look forward to hearing more from Chief Makina and another time, and Mayor Arnott and Mayor Rands about these projects and the benefits to their community members. Cities and towns with strong, vibrant communities are where people want to live and raise their families, whether outdoors or indoors. Safe community spaces will allow people to connect and support each other through thick and thin. With the vaccination program rolling out across Canada, we have a renewed sense of optimism. We can now focus on efforts to rebuild our economy, and doing so in a way that addresses key community needs and ensure a strong future for all. Together with our BC partners, we're improving the quality of community and recreational infrastructure, improving accessibility, and supporting healthy and active lifestyles. Today's funding announcement is proof of what we can accomplish when we do it together. Thank you.
Sorry about that darn mute button. Thank you, MP McKinnon. And now I'd like to ask Josie Osborne, BC's Minister of Municipal Affairs, to speak about the province's support of the projects being highlighted today.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Ronna Ray. And yes, I had to double check that my mute button was off too. I know these virtual announcements or something. Good morning, everybody. It's such a pleasure to be here. My name is Josie Osborne, and I am BC's Minister of Municipal Affairs. I want to start by acknowledging too that I'm speaking to you from the territory of the Hupetchisitt and Sashot First Nations in Port Alberni. And it is a real pleasure to be here, albeit virtually, this morning, along with my federal and local government colleagues, and here to celebrate 4 incredible projects that are helping to make a huge impact in communities on Vancouver Island. Investment in infrastructure is an investment in people, and I'm really proud to be part of a government that's choosing to put people and communities first. We've learned so many things during the pandemic, and one thing that's become abundantly clear is that we need to support communities in every way that we can to keep them strong and healthy and resilient. So that's why we're working together with our federal partners and with local governments and elected officials, with Indigenous nations and with not-for-profits to invest in communities in ways that works for them. So from the north to the south, there are infrastructure projects receiving federal and provincial support here on Vancouver Island. And today, as you know, we're shining a spotlight on some of the special projects that are making a really meaningful difference for the people who live in these communities on Vancouver Island: the Mowitchit Machalit First Nation, the town of Comox, the city of Courtenay, and the district of Metchosin. So the first project that I'd like to highlight is one, as we've already heard, is helping to ensure the safety and well-being of members of the Mowitchit Machalit First Nation during an emergency. This area, which is near Gold River, experiences frequent high winds that result in power outages. And we want to make sure that during these emergencies, people in this community have a safe place to take shelter and to access food, healthcare, and the social supports that they need. The Mowitchit Machalit First Nation will be installing solar panels and a battery system to the existing community school, and that'll help generate emergency power to the building so that it can be used to keep people safe during weather events. I know that families from the Mowitchit Machalit First Nation will soon be able to rest assured that their children will be safe in the upgraded school building, and that people can weather a storm together in a space that has power for electricity and heat. So moving south and to the east of the Mowitchit Machalit First Nation, the town of Comox and the city of Courtenay have been working hard to improve the quality of life for people in their communities by enhancing their active transportation networks. And this really aligns with our government's values of creating and maintaining infrastructure that promotes healthy lifestyles for generations to enjoy in the future. So we're very excited to support these projects. They'll nurture people's physical and mental health and well-being and better connect communities, keeping them together. And finally, moving towards the southern tip of Vancouver Island, let's talk about Metchosin, beautiful Metchosin. Local gathering spaces are at the heart of our communities, and they are essential to creating supportive and inclusive and welcoming communities where people want to live and they want to work and raise their families. And that's why we're very happy to be contributing almost $189,000 towards the development of a community gathering center in Metchosin. This building, as we'll hear from the mayor soon, was once a school, and the District of Metchosin is upgrading it to give families access to a range of services for public events and gatherings, and helping to keep people connected for years to come. So in partnership with our federal colleagues, we want to help revitalize communities, build inclusive spaces for people to gather and support local businesses as they recover from the pandemic. And the 4 projects we're announcing today are among many projects located throughout BC that are receiving support under the COVID-19 Resilience Infrastructure Stream. This funding stream is supporting a variety of projects that includes new walking trails and bike paths, upgraded fire halls, enhanced and safer community spaces, and bringing jobs and opportunities to BC's communities. Our investment in these projects is one example of how our government is committed to making life more affordable, delivering the services that people count on, and building a strong, sustainable, and innovative economy that works for everyone. So we're excited to be partnering with all orders of government here with us today through the Investing in Canada Infrastructure program for projects that are benefiting British Columbians and their communities well into the future. So thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you, Ronna Ray, for having me here, and back over to you.
Thank you, Minister Osborne. Today's announcement is also supporting safety upgrades to the community school building, as Minister Osborne said, on the Mowachat-Muchalat First Nation. Improvements to the building will ensure the First Nation can provide shelter, food, and resources to people during the community's frequent power outages and other emergencies. Unfortunately, due to an really important community gathering, Chief McQuina from the Mowachat-Muchalat First Nation was not available to participate in today's events. And now I'd like to introduce the Mayor of the town of Comox, Russ Arnott, to speak about their project and what it means to their community.
Good morning. Thanks, Ronna Ray. I'd like to respectfully acknowledge that I am speaking to you from the town of Comox, located in the unceded traditional territories of the Comox First Nation. On behalf of Comox Council and the town of Comox, it gives me great pleasure to be included in this federal and provincial Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program funding announcement today. With this funding, the town will be installing a new sidewalk and bike lane on the south side of Comox Avenue from Rodello Street to Ellis Street, a key arterial route in the town. This project is a great example of a strategic priority of Comox Council to make the town a pedestrian and bike-friendly community, so it can be accessible and enable residents and workers of all ages to get around in cleaner and more efficient ways. The City of Courtenay, one of our neighboring communities in the Comox Valley, is represented here today by Mayor Bob Wells, as they're also receiving funding to improve active transportation in the city by constructing bike lanes on 17th Street. The improvements will create an important east-west connection within the city, further extending the city's bike lane network that their council has focused on. On behalf of both the City of Courtenay and the town of Comox, I extend our thanks to the Government of Canada, the Province of BC, as well as Minister Osborne and MLA Leonard for recognizing the importance of these 2 projects. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Arnott. I'd like now to invite John Rands, the Mayor of the District of Metchosin, to speak about the project his community will be working on.
Yeah, good morning. I guess what I would like to say is that acknowledge that this is probably the most important grant that we've ever received as a municipality. As Minister Osborne indicated, this is about people. It's not about the roads and the bridges and things like that. This really is about the people, and it's something that is going to have a long and lasting effect. When we bought the school, we had this vision, but being a small rural municipality without a lot of tax base, it took every nickel we had to purchase it. And I tell you, I had a few sleepless nights over that one. But we just assumed that, okay, well, we'll hold the school for future times, and maybe future councils will be able to do something with it. Well, now thanks to the grant, we can actually do something now, and something quite important, I think. What we're going to do is basically make the whole thing usable, particularly the gym. We're going to be able to install kitchen facilities, emergency lighting, HVAC, doors, things like that that enable a public assembly. We'll have improved acoustics and a stage for a community theater, which is something that we really there's been a demand for a lot of years around here. And the arts conference, we will be able to add technology to it to help support our ambitions to have it become a regional emergency training center. But probably, and this was spoken to by MP McKinnon, that we work very closely. We've got a great relationship with Beecher Bay First Nation. And this just will help us even further integrate the two communities into the kind of the cooperative efforts that we have. So I'd just like to thank both senior levels of government for this, and their staff for recognizing the value of the community, not just us, the surrounding municipalities that I think will be able to use this facility, and again the First Nations. So very grateful for it. I'd just like to finish by thanking some of the more prominent people that got this thing achieved. Our CAO, Lisa Erlacher, Councillor Sherry Epp has been involved throughout it. Most importantly, to our fire chief and emergency coordinator, Chief Stephanie Dunlop. I kind of wanted her sitting beside me today, but she's on deployment up in the interior in the fire command. But she really has been the driving force behind all of this. So I think that, again, the money will have a great multiplier effect in terms of what we'll be able to achieve for the region, the sub-region. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Mayor Rands. In closing, I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time for being here this morning. And I want to acknowledge the support of the town of Comox, the city of Courtenay, the Moachat Muchalat First Nation, the district of Matrosen, and our federal partners for helping to bring these projects to life. I think the way you've just described it, Mayor Rands, really enlivens all of these projects. Thank you. And now we'll begin our question and answer sessions with the media. And I turn it over to Katie.
Thank you to all of our speakers today. As a reminder, reporters on the phone, you can now press *1 to enter the queue. You'll be limited to one question and one follow-up today. Please also remember to take your phone off mute, as you're not audible until your name is called. Before we begin, to see if there are any questions, I'll ask our speakers to pose for a moment for a quick photo. So if everyone can just smile at their web cameras for just a moment, we'll grab a picture. Thank you so much. Perfect. And it looks like we do not have anyone in the queue yet for questions. So that concludes our event today. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, actually, everyone to hold for a moment. We just had someone join. Did you up for a question?